It's a huge matchup for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish as well as the Louisville Cardinals, a game that has pretty big playoff implications for both teams. And one of the bigger games for both of these teams, Texas A&M was obviously Notre Dame's first big test, but Louisville has not faced any level of competition that's near Notre Dame. This will be an interesting test. Both teams have some concerns. I think Louisville right now, we just don't know truly what this team is. We're going to find out obviously this weekend, which is very exciting. Notre Dame has some things to sort out. The passing game obviously hasn't been what it needs to be. The Northern Illinois loss obviously is something we're going to talk about for quite some time. Notre Dame is favored in this game, which isn't necessarily too interesting, not really surprising. But I think that there were times where this has been an interesting line. The gap between these two teams feels like it maybe is closer now than it has been in the past, but it's going to be an interesting game. The questions for both teams. I think that if you're Louisville, can you stop the run? We talked about Notre Dame and their limitations on offense. The passing attack has not been what Notre Dame needs it to be. The passing attack has been honestly a little bit disappointing. You brought in Riley Leonard, not because you thought he was going to be this gunslinger, but you did bring him for his experience. And while he's been good as a runner, so far the passing attack has not been what you wanted. And that's been kind of a problem for Notre Dame, I think, over the last handful of years. And right now, I think that is one thing Louisville can do really well is maybe you focus on stopping the run, which with Louisville's defensive line, you feel pretty good about their ability to do that. It's just a matter of how efficiently and how consistently can you do that to make Notre Dame throw the football. Because again, Notre Dame is going to want to throw the football if they're not. I mean, they want to run the ball, but they have to figure out the passing attack. And I think Louisville's defensive backs are super underrated and can definitely provide some problems for the Fighting Irish passing attack. For Notre Dame, this is similar to that conversation. How do you become more balanced? That's probably the biggest question for me. Right now, Notre Dame feels very run heavy, and it's because they really can run the football well and they don't really throw the football that well. I don't know how you get that fixed. I don't know how you get Riley Leonard more involved if you're already seeing the limitations with his game. And I mean, they're not terrible limitations, but in big games, you need him to show up and you need his arm to show up. And right now, they're going to face a Louisville defensive line that will present a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties, adversity that maybe you aren't necessarily ready for. So the question, actually, the matchup that I'm really excited to watch Louisville's run defense against Notre Dame's run offense. That's the thing that everyone's probably going to focus on for the most part because Louisville's defensive line is so good. I mean, Notre Dame's offensive line has exceeded expectations this year. I think you have to give them credit for that. But at the same time, you're facing a really good group in Louisville's run defense. That defensive line is going to be a problem, and it's going to be fun to watch both of those groups go head to head because it's going to be a big factor, if you will, of what this game is going to turn out to be and how each team can gain an advantage. If Notre Dame can run the football efficiently, they're in good hands. If Louisville stops the run efficiently, they feel like they have the advantage there. The players, the impact players to watch for Notre Dame, everything starts with Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard will be an X factor for this team up until the end of the season. His arm is going to be the question. Until further notice, Riley Leonard's arm is going to be a question until you can prove that you can beat teams consistently. And this is a team in Louisville that you maybe need to do that. You maybe need to show that, hey, my arm is a threat. You need to respect that. And that opens things up for the rushing attack. That makes this defensive line have to work a little bit harder because you're spreading the ball out. And maybe the one thing I will say is in this new age of college football, you have ways to run the football without actually running the football. Quick screens, bubble screens can help and stretch the field. You can wear out a defense sideline to sideline, but also you have to be able to open things up. Teams are going to press you. They're going to get near the line of scrimmage if you can't throw the ball deep. So maybe those bubble screens, those quick screens, or just quick passes don't necessarily do anything because Louisville has no fear of the deep threat. So Riley Leonard is going to have to showcase his arm talent and show that he is definitely a threat. Jeremiah Love having a good year in that rushing attack. Again, the running backs feel like they're pretty good for Notre Dame. So you don't necessarily have too many concerns about that rushing attack. Again, it will just come down to the balance of this team. The defense is full of talent. Now, losing Jordan Patello is going to be a big loss. But I think you've seen some players step up in his absence. I think that you've seen plenty of players showcase that they are capable of playing at a high level. And Notre Dame has done a good job of recruiting. And I think that you feel pretty good. Jack Kaiser is the leader of that group. And then the secondary. This is a Louisville team that will like to throw the football, and they are going to test Xavier Watts and Benjamin Morrison, but they also are going to be weary of trying that too much. These are two guys that are very good at turning the ball over to their offense. They are very good at getting the ball back and picking off passes when their team really needs it. Those are two guys that you definitely have to be careful around, and you definitely do not want to take them lightly. Now, when you flip to the defensive side or to the other side, the impact players for Louisville. Louisville, obviously, everything starts with their quarterback as well. And so far, knock on wood, Tyler Shough has been healthy this year. He is someone that has struggled with injuries his entire career, and we've seen the talent that he brings to the table. I think that's one thing that's been really exciting for Louisville is that they have a quarterback that has struggled in years past, but his talent has been there. You've seen flashes of his ability, and you're seeing that on a consistent basis. 8 touchdowns so far this year, and this is a big game for him. This is a huge opportunity for him to put his name back on the map and remind everyone of the talent that he has available. And throwing the football to guys like Ja'Cory Brooks is going to be huge. Now, Ja'Cory Brooks is his own bounce back story in a way. Started at Alabama, had a good year. I think that one year that we talked about him was incredible, and then he kind of just fell off the map. I think that was very surprising, and now he's maybe rediscovered his game at Louisville. Had a big week last week, and he is someone that's going to test. I love to see the matchup of Ja'Cory Brooks against Benjamin Morrison. That's going to be a really fun matchup to watch. And also, just what Tyler Shough can do against that secondary. Same with the rushing attack against Notre Dame's defensive line. I think that defensive line is very good for Notre Dame, and you're going to have to find ways to exploit them and find ways to be aggressive and be physical. And guys like Isaac Brown in that rushing attack will love what they see if their offensive line is up for the task as well. The defense is going to have an absolute dogfight ready for them. We talked about the defensive line. There's a number of players to keep an eye on. Des Tell, Ashton Gelati. You're looking at two guys that have plenty of experience, and this is just two of the guys that are on this line that are very good. And if Louisville's defensive line puts in some work this weekend, you feel pretty good about their chances to win that game. This is a very exciting matchup, one that features two teams that have playoff on their mind, and this is a big game. I think that if Notre Dame loses this game, you're probably looking at a team that's not in the playoff definitively. I think that there are going to be plenty of other teams that get in over a two-loss Notre Dame team, specifically because they have that Northern Illinois loss. The 12-team playoff obviously is a little bit more forgiving than years past, but you're also looking at a two-loss team that is going to have to fight their way and need some help to get in. Louisville, if they lose, it's not the end of the world for them. It's hard in the ACC, a conference that is viewed as maybe a little bit weaker, but also you have to consider that you have to beat teams like Miami, like Clemson. Those are teams that are going to be difficult to beat. And there's only so many spots in the college football playoff. So a loss here would be probably disappointing, but also maybe a trajectory of what we should expect from them against those better teams. But for now, we'll see. It's a really fun game, a really fun matchup, and I'm excited to see both battles in the lines of scrimmage for both teams and see how that plays out because I think that goes a long way in dictating who wins this matchup.